David. I am the SJ Vice President. Thank you for everyone coming to our town hall, our transportation panel. Um, we have amazing guests here today. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Let's start off with Dr. Donovan, our Senior Transportation Director.
Thank you, David. Good afternoon. We appreciate the opportunity to be here today. As David said, I'm Bill Donovan. I'm the Senior Director for Parking and Transportation here at UNT. With me today is I have Chris Hawk. He's our Assistant Director for Transportation. And also joining us today is in the hall, Ms. Mirzai, who is our brand new, been here about a month, event support coordinator in our department. So I want to just say we appreciate the opportunity to be here to discuss parking and transportation issues with student government and the student body as well. And we're here to listen. We're all ears. If we don't know the answer, we'll get you an answer. Just know that we're very much attuned to working on addressing the wants and the needs student community from a parking and transportation perspective. Thank you.
All righty. So again, this is going to be very informal. And we'll start with any questions from the audience. This is your peeps that work for y'all for transportation and parking. So any questions, just raise your hand and I will call on you. And yeah. We have a question over here. Let's go ahead and see your question, Bella.
Hi, y'all. My name's Bella. I'm Allocations Director for SGA. I feel like there's a lot of confusion between students about when ticketing hours are. Could you elaborate more on that?
Parking enforcement is enforced 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whenever the university is officially open. When the university is officially closed, we do not do parking enforcement.
Okay, thank you.
You are.
So I'm JT. I'm the intern program director for SGA and also the Black Student Union president. So one of my questions is for those of us who work in housing, more specifically who are RAs, FAs, HAs, a lot of the times we have parking spaces right in front of our halls, but we still aren't allowed to park in those spaces due to commuter students getting those lots. But say that we have to work a desk hall on the other side of campus, I would have to walk from where I live, hypothetically Rollins, all the way to Legends late in the night instead of being able to just park right in front of Legends or Rollins because I have to work a desk shift hour. So I'm asking, is there any way that transportation could work with housing to allow permits or some type of special permit for student workers who work in housing, specifically RAs, HAs, front desk clerks, so they don't have to make that pivotal walk late in the night? I mean, I'm not fearful. I'm a 6'2" Black man, right? But I can't say that for everybody else, right? As we know, and everybody else, I'm sure, doesn't feel as safe as I would walking at night alone.
So that's a great question. Can you hear me? Okay. We have a good working relationship with Housing and Residence Life, with Dr. Sanchez and James Fairchild. Part of that collaboration is them giving us feedback on what the needs are. And part of what we've heard in the past is that folks who are working in a particular hall, they give us a number of students that is, and we allocate permits for those students. So if you're an HA or an RA, you have first dibs on buying a reserved resident permit for the lot in the hall in which you work. For the graduate students who are working as assistant community directors, that's where we work with housing to identify those people so that if there is an issue that they've got multiple areas of responsibility, that we kind of identify those folks and where they're at. From the undergraduate side, we've not had that conversation. The ask thus far has been for folks working in a particular hall, what solution do we have? And so I think we would be open to having that conversation with them. We're happy to go back and initiate it, but I think it will also be good for them to hear from you on that need. Now, depending on the situation and the permit you have additional options for parking after 5:30 at night. So if the concern is evening, we have a lot of flexibility. If it's during the day, it'd have to be what are the particulars, because it's a capacity. So just know that I'm grateful for the relationship that we have developed with housing. I'm glad that we're able to work with them to meet the needs of the students, but we haven't met every need. So it's part of that dialogue that I think we've got some successes out there, but certainly if there's more ways in which to support them, we would like that opportunity.
Sorry. Hello, my name is Zavon Gilmore. I'm a sophomore here at UNT, and my question is regarding commuting. I live I live in an apartment off campus at City Park, and I understand there's a new bus route that goes out there in the afternoon. But what in case of overnight after 10 o'clock, only thing I could do is walk home. And just like JT said, I pretty much won't have a problem with threats. But what about other students who often have to deal with that, especially late at night when there's barely any streetlights on Fry Street? And also, what about students who live like further out, such as the Ridge near 288 and also the Forums near 35? How can they get home safely when there's no bus routes that go out there, such as the night rider or the Lyft services that only takes you around campus? Is there a way we can have more bus routes or able to expand the Lyft rides for students?
Well, okay, thank you for the question. And I think the question is related to evening service on the shuttles for off-campus student living communities. We do have service. I think the latest it goes is 10:30, 10:15, something like that. And at some point, we just have to stop service for the evening because the ridership gets extremely low at that point, and it's expensive to run a bus service. So at some point we just have to say the ridership is to the point where we can't continue service all night long, sort of thing. And I know that's I don't mean for that to come across as insensitive, but we have some physical realities when it comes to contracting a shuttle service for students. We try to extend service out as long as we can, and we are exploring other options, such as the Lyft that you mentioned. Right now, it's of course limited to the campus geography on campus. We've had some feedback suggesting, can we do that to off-campus locations? That's something we're looking at, but it's problematic for a number of reasons. But we are taking a look at some other options. Certainly, safety is a concern. We want students to feel safe, and we want students to be able to get back and forth from their off-campus student communities to campus, especially in the evening hours, even if they don't have evening classes, but if they work on campus or if there's activities in the evenings they want to participate in, we want them to be able to do so. So we specifically do provide evening service to the best of our ability for that. Do you have anything, Chris?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. We certainly hear that concern. The evening off campus, and for a greater extent, a lot of the evening services that we provide have been through a partnership effort through housing. Um, Several years ago, folks had to move across to lot 80, 85, that remote area, and there were concerns about the level of bus service, folks coming back at 3 in the morning, maybe they're working late or whatnot, and the e-ride, the Lyft service are a result of that collaboration. The evening off-campus shuttle that we just started last week is a result of hearing from students, their parents, about the challenges in being on campus because classes aren't done at 5 o'clock. And so we looked at a way that we could meet that need because it's more of a safety issue than an efficiency issue. So how do we provide that service given the limited funding? And so it's intended to provide that way home. At City Park, the off-campus student living communities, we are working very hard to build relationships. You may see us come out to your location and solicit feedback. And in particular, to each of the communities, they have a little bit different need. While similar, there will be some nuances to that. So we want to take the feedback. We want to hear from students, and if we can evaluate the offerings that we have and meet a need, and I'm encouraged by the off-campus shuttle. Enrollment in the spring is very low. Ridership on the transit system dips down in the spring. And I think we're seeing some encouraging results after just 1 week. So I'm hoping that by fall we'll be able to take a look at these areas and complement the service in a better way for students in our community.
Awesome. Alexis, go ahead with your question.
Yes, hi. I'm Alexis Hawkins. I'm one of the co-directors for diversity and inclusion for the Student Government Association. My question for y'all is, I noticed around across the street from the CVAD building that there is construction going on in a parking lot.
Yes.
And I've noticed that there is also a lot of talk on social media and face-to-face that there's not enough parking. And I've actually experienced it myself, going to class, having to drive around parking lots looking for someone leaving. So with the commuter students, whether you're traveling 5 minutes or an hour to get to campus, how are you helping them alleviate their parking woes?
Okay, thank you for that question. That's probably one of the more frequent comments and questions we get is commuter parking, the availability of commuter parking, especially on the east side of campus, over by the Union. The lot you mentioned is lot 55, where the new art building is being constructed. We lost 50% of the parking capacity in that lot thanks to the new building going up. And that was a UNT decision to put the new building there. But we lost 200 spaces, 200 Eagle commuter spaces in the lot, 50%. Okay. And any additional parking is over on where the old Fouts Field is, lot 20. That's where the bulk of our Eagle parking is commuter parking. So it's over on the west side of campus. Now, the Eagle spaces in the lots on east side of campus, they're very popular. They fill up quickly in the morning. I look at the cameras there each morning and I see between 8:30 and about 8:50, the lots over there are full. People are swirling around looking for a space. What we encourage folks to do is if you're coming to campus and you're going to arrive past 8:30, just go directly over to lot 20, Fouts Field, for your Eagle permit. and park there. There's ample Eagle parking, commuter parking in lot 20. It hasn't even gotten close to filling up to capacity. And we've offered a express bus service from Fouts the lot 20, over to right up by the Union Circle or the Highland Street Garage, which is a central location, and it runs just constantly all day long. It starts about 7 a.m. running back and forth. And so that's the solution that we offer, is those lots, those Eagle lots on the east side are going to fill. Those are very popular because they're very centrally located classes in the Union. And there's just only a finite number of those spaces. And so if you're coming, I would say after 8:30, you're better off going directly to lot 20 and parking, because you will find a space there. Then it's probably a 15-minute walk from lot 20 to the Union, but the bus service is quicker than that, and it's running constantly. So that's what we recommend. I don't know of any plans to build additional commuter parking on the east side campus there. There's only so much space over there. To my knowledge, the university isn't planning any additional parking space on that side. All the parking seems to be headed out towards, of course, lot 20 and then across by Apogee, where the bulk of the capacity is. Yes.
So I think that's another great question. To some context for Bill's comments, it has to do with location. UNT is a landlocked university, and it's about wins and losses and gains, and we have lost a significant amount of parking in the central area of campus for some great projects. CVAD, the new art school, art building, the Welcome Center, which is fabulous, Joe Green Hall, part of this facility, all used to be parking, and it's gone. And I think for the institution and for us, and I am a student, I have been a student prior. When I came back a few years ago to work here, I was just amazed at the transformation that has happened here. And as you work towards your degree, and this part of it's a little lecture, but we have to context it a little bit, that each of these additions they add value to your degree, because it perpetuates the mission of the institution, it attracts new students, it helps build that value. Sometimes you hear people say, well, none of this Welcome Center I don't benefit from, I'm already here. But it does add a value to your degree. The challenge has been being landlocked, everything goes further out. And so the frustration, we get it, we understand that. And, leadership at an institution doesn't want to talk about how much parking they've got. They want to talk about the labs, the classrooms, the facilities they have that enhance the education opportunities for the students. And so we're left, and part of what I would, we have nice flat spaces, and so they make perfect starting points for a new building. So that's part of the challenge. Bill mentioned the express bus. This is the second year. This is another service that we hear, and we've implemented. And a lot of folks just logistically, I'm going to class here, I need to park close to here. And folks say, well, over there's that, I'm nowhere over there. And I can't walk all that way. Well, we try to offer that service that says, we'll get you there direct from this location to the building. It's not like it stops along 20 stops along the way. It's what an express bus. So when it leaves Fouts and starts this way, it's coming here. Those routes are going to be tweaked again by next year. There is some logistics with the roads, stoplights. Highland Street, is really if you've ever driven down Highland Street, the class change, it's wow. So logistically, we have to work that out. So our goal is to have service that goes from that remote area, gets you to campus in just a few minutes in a central location that you can navigate to where your class is. And so that's really the hope. But I'd like to share that these are, as a result of campus growth, which is a good thing, we're challenged to meet our students' needs, our faculty staff needs about close proximity. And so it's so anyways, that's some more background to that. So I'll be quiet. That's the short.
I think we also have a question via Teams. Casey, go ahead.
Hello, thank you so much. Yeah, I've noticed the last few years that the east side of campus is just so packed with people that want to park over there because it is very central. And I understand that there's apartments and there's stuff limiting y'all from expanding parking on that side. So I do understand that Lot 20 is very essential for everyone to get parking. When we talk about access and getting to campus, I've parked in Lot 20, coming around campus around noon. If I miss the bus at the Fouts Field stop, it can take about 7 to 10 minutes for another bus to come. It's taken me as long as 40 minutes to park, to get on the bus, wait for the bus, get on the bus, and then ride it over to the area of campus, which I need down by Curry and the English building and all that area of campus, as well as even areas that are over by, that are even closer when you come down near Avenue C. Is there a plan to increase shuttling or efficiency of getting people to that side? I understand buses and stuff can't go down by that dead end down by Hurley, but something that always popped up in my head is, what if there's just a direct route with a shuttle, like the E-Ride shuttle, from Fouts Field down to that dead end, and it turns around and comes back. It's just a straight U-turn circle, and you're able to drop people off right there. I didn't know if there's been thoughts about adjusting shuttling, and maybe instead of getting more buses, there's a shuttle that can go to different areas of campus more effectively, a very short route, very efficient.
Yes, thank you for that. Short answer is yes. We're always looking for ways to increase efficiency and effectiveness on our shuttle routes. We have a number of initiatives on our plate to look at for how to increase the quickness from Fouts Field and from over by Apogee, those lots over there, the remote lots, into the heart of campus. We've looked at different, if we go down this road, but turn here and turn there. We do all those kind of studies. We get in during the summers, we'll get a DCTA bus out, and we'll actually just start driving around. And then we'll try to do it during peak traffic times so we can get a feel for how long it takes. So we do all sorts of things like that to try to figure out the best routes, the best timing, and things like that. So the short answer is yes, we're always looking at that. And if anyone else has any suggestions or ideas, by all means, send them to us. We'll be happy to look at it. Sure.
I feel like John Madden's huh? Yeah, rest in peace. That's a great question. And Casey, right? Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so I chuckled at that because I didn't bring it, but I am constantly printing a blank map and drawing lines to see where it goes. And I have one that is exactly what you're talking about, going from Fouts right to that dead end and back. And I've shown it around the office, and people kind of look at me like I'm nuts because of the logistical challenges. But I try to wipe that off, and this is something I do pretty frequently. And I'm happy to have a free form whatever with folks to just draw lines and see what goes, and then we can evaluate, okay, what works in this, what doesn't work. But I have that exact route, and I'm happy to share it. But logistically, I've got some challenges. If we could fly and not need roads, it'd be great. The other thing I just want to clarify about the Lot 20 stop. We have two stops out there. We have the bus terminal, the bus transit station, kind of right on NTB. The parking express bus is kind of in the back, right? Are you all familiar with that? So it's two different buses, and I just want to make sure that folks aren't parking and then going to the regular bus station, because yeah, that's going to stop 14 times before you get to where you want to go. So we have the express bus kind of in that western half back there that comes directly to the Highland Street Garage, which gets you just right by Wooten, Matthews, the DLB, and it's a short walk to the Union. And I have a class in the language building, and I walk from work up there. It takes me 8 to 10 minutes, so you know it's close. But I just want to make sure that distinction was clear. There's actually two stops. So the one in the back is intended to get you quicker. Please give me any feedback. If you try it, if you know people who try it, let me know, because I really think there's an opportunity here, especially if I'm driving. You know, I hear students coming from Grand Prairie, all these. It's like, wow. And hey, go here, stop, get on, and we should have you over there in just several minutes. So, and that way you don't have the stress, you don't have the I'm late to class and all of that. So, anyways, thank you.
All righty. Seems that we have some questions that were submitted anonymously. Maya, if you want to help me out, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so these were submitted through the Google form that was sent out with the Instagram posts and Twitter posts. So I'm just going to go from the first one and on. The first question was, why do buses stop running around 5:30 p.m.?
Okay, well, the short answer is not every bus stops at 5:30. We have several routes that continue well past 5:30. Just for this semester, we've started evening off-campus routes, 2 buses, one an east route and a west route, that run to 10:30 at night, specifically to get students back to their apartments and the student living communities later hours in the evenings. Last semester in the fall, we had more routes that stopped earlier. We had some that stopped as early as 5:45, some stopped at 6, some stopped at 6:30. But we specifically designed these routes for this semester to address those needs of students that needed to get back and forth later in the hours. But we do have, which we hope is adequate service up until about 10:30 at night. Now, there's always a few that have needs past 10:30, but as we stated earlier, it's not practical to meet every single need that's out there. We have to try to do our best to meet as many needs as possible with that.
Okay, thank you so much. The next question in the chat was just talking about more. Currently, I have to show up 2 hours early to park, where even paid overflow lots are full.
Yes, I think that speaks to the popularity of the commuter lots on the east side of campus. You arrive even mid-morning, you're going to be hard-pressed to find an available space in the Eagle lots on the east side of campus. You know, there's over 1,400 Eagle spaces between all of those lots on the east side of campus. There's a lot more than 1,400 folks vying for those spaces. So I will say, though, if you show up in the afternoon, you're more likely to find a few spaces. But for the most part in the morning, you're going to need to go pretty much over to lot 20. Even the Eagle lots in mid-campus, like lot 7, lot 27, they typically fill up by 9 a.m. Because they're just very popular. You know, we're all the time looking at the demand. We're looking at our capacities. We're looking at lot designations to try to find that balance because of all the competing needs and demands. We have to serve our visitor population. We have to serve faculty and staff populations, as long as, resident parking, commuter parking. They're all legitimate needs. They all have legitimate parking needs. So we're all the time striving to find that balance. And I know it's frustrating out there. Believe me, I was a student at one time, long time ago, and we experienced the same challenges and issues that a lot of you guys are experiencing. But just know that we are keenly aware of the frustration that causes, and we're doing our best to address those needs.
Awesome. I believe we have some comments. Oh, go ahead, Maya.
Yeah, sorry, I thought I unmuted myself. But I believe some of these questions have been answered with the Lot 20 and the bus routes. There was one question about the Lyft services. It says last year I was told that there was a free Lyft service in the evening that was available, but every time I have tried to book one of these Lyfts, they have not worked. If you could shed some light on this issue, that would be very helpful.
Well, I'm concerned why that didn't work. If they're using the proper, I would say make sure you're using the proper Lyft code. The Lyft code should go through, and it changes each semester. There'll be a code for fall and then a code for spring. But it should work especially if you try that from 2 a.m. to 7 a.m., it should go right through.
Where can we find that code? Is it on the transportation website?
It is, and
yes.
I have it here. It's UNT Spring 22.
UNT Spring 2022. Awesome,
Just
thank
22,
you.
not 20. It's just UNT Spring 22.
Oh, correction. UNT Spring 22. Awesome.
Yeah, the one addition to that is that there's two ways a student might experience Lyft on campus. The E-Ride service runs in the evening until 2 a.m. Sometimes it's our shuttle bus. Sometimes, depending on the circumstance, we actually will dispatch a Lyft to pick somebody up. That is different from the code trip, which is only active from 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. And that service is a result of, again, students having to park across remotely and addressing some safety concerns when students are coming back very late at night, or they're getting up early to go to work. So that's why that was implemented. That's not to say that's all it will ever be, but again, there was a very specific need, and that was the solution that was provided. Once you launch a service, you may find other ways that it can complement what you're doing, but it was launched with a very specific thing. So there are two ways to get a Lyft. One is through the E-Ride service, and the other is through the app, just like you would book normally. You use the code, and then it's active from 2 a.m. to 7. So it may be a little confusing, and if it is, let me know how we can help clarify that so it's not ambiguous and confusing.
I have a follow up to the Lyft. Do the Lyfts go off campus? So like a bunch of student apartments are off campus and they take the buses there, but do the Lyfts go there as well, or just on campus?
No, just on campus.
Okay.
Any 2 points on campus it will go to.
Okay.
No.
And just to follow up to that is the design of it. We do have one off campus, and that's the Fry Street area. So it's technically not on campus, but it is just adjacent to. And that was a concern to get folks safely back from their activities at night back to campus safely. So it's a little tiny piece. So technically, I don't want to be called a technicality.
Okay, thank you so much. There is one last question in the chat, and then we can go to any more questions in the people in person. This question says, Are steps being taken to ensure the parking garage exits won't break again? There have been multiple hour-long lines to get out of the garage due to machines breaking.
Yes, I am sorry that that happened. I know that it's frustrating sitting in a line trying to get out. The design of the Highland Street garage is not optimal. I would have designed it different to get in and out that garage, but it is what it is at the moment. There's just the one way in, the one way out. When we have equipment that malfunctions, the most recent one was the credit card reader stopped working. You could still, if you had the access card for a permit, that one would still work, but you couldn't pay to get out of the garage. So it backed up the line up to level 3, level 4, and it takes 20 to 30 minutes to get out of the garage at that point. And it's very frustrating sitting in that line because the only thing you're looking at is brake lights for 20 minutes. Not fun. We're getting brand new equipment in the garage in the summer to replace the existing equipment that's there now. The existing equipment is several years old. It's still functional, but it tends to, like anything mechanical, over time, it tends to start having problems. And that's where we are with that. We've replaced the credit card reader. It's brand new and now, so it's working. Both lanes are up and working again. We're hoping that this summer, when we get the new equipment in and get it replaced, that any equipment outages will be few and far between.
Awesome. Do we have a question? Go ahead. Just go ahead and push until it turns green. There you go.
Okay. Hey, I'm Deborah, and I'm a freshman, and I do stay on campus. And basically, my question is, what's the transportation team doing to make most of the freshmen and I guess people who stay on campus to know more about the services available? Because a lot of people, not just the bus, I'm saying like the Lyft, I know there's a shuttle bus, I think that's what it's called, just to make people more aware of like the services available to them, because a lot of people don't really know, and I was just throwing it out there.
Okay, thank you for that. The question is, what are we doing to make sure that our services are well known throughout, especially to the freshman class? I mean, we do participate in orientations before school starts. We provide information, educational information on what services we offer, how you can utilize those services, the hours of those services, things like that. If you by chance miss that information at orientations, we try to provide information in housing packets. If you're an on-campus resident, you should have gotten some parking and transportation information in your welcome packet. We try to keep an active social media presence on our Facebook account, our Twitter. We try to tweet things out. We try to respond to questions we see on Mean Green Family Facebook page there. We do our best to keep our website up to date with current information. We try to direct people to our websites. But, if there are other ways that students would like to see information like this communicated, by all means, let us know. We think we know how to reach you, but we may not be doing it correctly. So, yes.
Thank you. Makes a very, very important point. In my time with the department, I have had the opportunity to meet many, many students. A majority of the students I meet with are first-time in college students. I was a first-gen student. I was clueless. I'm surprised I got out. Most of the first-time in college students I meet with, through the conversation, it becomes real quick. They don't know about our services. And what I would compliment to Bill's statement is my thoughts on it is that incoming freshmen in particular are so overwhelmed with information. It's like drinking out of a fire hydrant. It's just boom. And to process all that is, I couldn't have done it. I didn't. And so, as Bill says, I'm very interested as the practitioner getting into this and delivering that. What can we do? Talk, and what can we do to listen that says, hey, this is more appropriate. I don't do Facebook, that's for parents. We do this. And let us reach students where they're at. And but part of it is that overwhelming stuff. Somebody mentioned they don't know about Lyft. They don't know about E-Ride. And that's one of the questions very early on after listening is I'll say, do you know about E-Ride? And they'll go, what's that? It's like, oh man, how did we fail? How did we fail and not get that? And sure, once they reached me, it's after a level of frustration. It's just they've reached a point that, they go to the dean of students or to their RA, their housing director, and say, help me. And I wish it didn't get to that point. So please consider the options in which you can provide information that is meaningful and not just to say, here's a packet, because it's just so overwhelming. And that's our struggle, is how do we convey this? And students may not know. It's a lot of students here at UNT, this is their first introduction to riding the bus. They may have ridden a school bus, but I've never ridden a bus like this. I don't know how it works. There's anxiety with that. And so think of the ways that, and I do this with all my conversations with students, is I come up with, I write things down that I can try, and we as a staff talk about this and say, what can we do? But please, if you're listening, you're here, it's like Bill said, tell us. Tell us what is a great way, because we want to connect. And so it's that. So thank you.
I also wanted to add that we'll also try to aim to have a stronger presence at tabling events. For instance, today I was at a tabling event for our department with a coworker to share the services that we can provide, and we're always open for questions. So definitely look, we're going to definitely aim to improve also the announcements on social media whenever we're at these tabling events, in case no one knows. And also definitely feel free to come by our office. When I was first a student here, and the parking block was built, I didn't realize that the office was just right there on the first floor. So if you ever have any questions and don't want to call or email, you can always come to us on that first floor of the Highland Street Garage parking building, and then we'll be there to answer your questions as well if you want more information from there directly.
Hi, yeah, who runs your social media?
Well, as of today, it's a gentleman named George Steeran, but he is leaving UNT next Tuesday. So we have divided his communication duties amongst the rest of our staff for now, Nahal being one of them, and temporarily, but we will hire a backfill for him.
Yeah, I feel like, the social media stuff was rude. The replies to people and students have been rude on social media. This is a trend. I'm a junior. I've seen this at least for the past year. And I feel like there's a very strong lack of social media presence. That again, you acknowledge yourself, like we don't know about a lot of these services, and unless we're at Mean Green Spring Fling, which is usually only for like freshmen or people who have the opportunity to walk from their dorm to another place on campus, versus a lot of the students that are living off campus. They don't know about these services. They're here late. And so I feel like, a push for social media is desperately needed. But yeah, thank you.
Well, I appreciate that feedback. I'm sorry if our communication has come across as rude or uncaring or anything like that. It's certainly not our intent, but we don't have a monopoly on, the right way to say things sometimes, I suppose. But Thank you for that feedback.
Yeah, and Bill and I just this morning had a conversation about perception of responses and what I like about our staff is we're pretty open with one another. I'm a customer. I pay for parking. I'm a student. I pay those fees. I pay the tuition. And I see some of these things. I say, hey, is that the best way? Did we miss an opportunity here? And the team's been very open to that. And so we're in that transition. So it's going to be a time of opportunity for us to do better. But I like that this question came up because just this morning, Bill gets tired of hearing from me sometimes. And but they're healthy because when we come here and it's like two things already. We had this conversation this morning and my Hurley route today. I'm like, wow, wait, I'm not crazy. We're on the same, some level we're there, but we have a great team and that feedback is important.
Go ahead, JT.
Well, I'm glad y'all are talking about image and perception. I think the truth be told, a lot of people experience with transportation is not positive. You have to think about that, right? You're paying money to be on campus, yet you have to go here. So you kind of you're forced to do it. Or either you're getting a ticket by somebody when you have a parking permit, and it's like, I paid all this money for a parking permit, yet I'm still getting a ticket for the university I attend. So the perception or the experience is not going to be positive per se, right? But I will tell you this. How about an idea of this? Just as an idea to throw out there, right? Because you want to fix image and talk about perception. Host a town hall in the Lyceum. It fits 500 people. Say that you'll give out 3 free parking permits for the next year. See how many people you get out. See if you can go and then in that way describe every opportunity transportation has, whether it's from the shuttles, the bus route, the Lyft. That way you can get your information out there and you can say, okay, look, we reached out to 500 students. We got that. That's a good start to perception and image and make it better. And then after that, maybe host a Q&A. That's just an idea since you're already talking about perception. And I think if you say you have 3 free parking permits, I bet you that room will be packed. I promise you that. So that's just an idea out there that I think you all should consider.
Thank you. That's a good idea.
That's
Appreciate
awesome.
that.
And I'd also like anybody who wants to participate in that. We're working on some things because you're absolutely right. We've got a lot of services to offer. How do we reach our students where they're at? And, I think it's great. And so these are great comments. We talked about, hey, what do we do to give away a free iPad? We'll have some people there. And it's an opportunity. So I hope there's more of this to come because there's a communication element and then there's kind of a, marketing element. How do I increase the awareness? Sure, we may communicate on this social media platform, but if the students are over here, who are we talking to? But if I can do things, and we see a lot of this in the library mall, what's that over there? And people come over and take a look at it. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. So we're having those discussions. It's a different way of looking than the departments have. So I hope that we'll see more of this. Feedback is great.
Yes. I believe you have a question on Teams. Casey, take it away.
Yeah. Speaking about the outreach and the image portion, it's not really a question, but I students have a lot of issues with transportation, like JT had said, as well as y'all's jobs revolve around transportation. And you mentioned earlier that the university doesn't talk about transportation much at all outside of your department. And so I think something that would be beneficial is y'all working with administration above y'all, even Neil and Clayton Gibson, and putting transportation out there on a bigger scale, so it's a university direction, not just a U direction, because students loop in admin as y'all. Y'all, it's a giant pool, and I think that's how I see it at times. But it's very large. But you need to. I think it would be important for you to set a direction with an overall administration level. So being outside of just your office, your department. So.
Yes, I think that's a fair point. Certainly the president and the senior vice presidents have a lot on their plate, and I do my level best to keep parking issues off of their plate so they can think about that. But at the same time, they certainly need to be aware of the issues and challenges regarding parking and transportation that the students face on a daily basis. and to know what we are doing to address those. So then they can also support from their level those initiatives and make sure that there are resources dedicating to helping the students navigate those challenges. So thank you for that comment.
All right,
Yes, go
thank you. Yeah, go ahead,
I
Alexis.
just want to add,
Oh, go
add
ahead.
to that. Just you're exactly right, Casey, and I think that the administration has an awareness with parking in particular. By state law, it is self-funded. It cannot receive tuition or fee money to operate, and it's designed to be a service that if you use, you pay for it. If you don't use it, you don't pay for it. Unlike some of the student fees that we as students pay, there are some fees we pay that I don't ever use. I wish I didn't have to pay it, but it's a fee and there it goes. And I think that's the challenge they have is I can't imagine the scale of the institution, the challenges they have to fund what are restricted areas, what are unrestricted, what are self-funded, what are governed by law that you can't do. And I share this not as an excuse, but there are reasons and complex issues that I think most people don't want to hear about. They glaze over. They say just fix it. But there's some real challenges that are there, and how do we balance? And so you're right. We need to have those conversations. I'll tell you, they're aware. They know. Bill met with Clayton this morning and had an opportunity to visit with him about things. And I know from the president's office, we have a transportation advisory committee. He has a representative that comes. He actually signs off on our rules and regulations for parking. We cannot do anything until he signs off on that. And so it's not to, again, it's a balance, and it's not a perfect balance. And so that's where the feedback comes in. But I do want to stress that I think administration is concerned about it. But it's that, how do I balance, I don't know, the educational experience versus, it's a fine line, and it's tough. So
I had a suggestion. I know that sometimes SGA will do this as well as other, I guess, departments on campus will also do this. I don't know if you've heard of it, Eagle Mail. I don't know if they still have that. Do they still have that?
Mhm.
Yeah, Eagle Mail. Because I'm gonna be honest, I'm a senior and I had no clue about the E-Ride. And I've been heavily involved on campus, do a lot of stuff, whatever. But I heard about it, but I didn't know exactly like how do I get in contact with them? How do I do XYZ? And so I was gonna suggest that maybe you could send out every semester or like every fiscal year, like something like that, where you could send out an email to all the students on campus in the Denton, like on the Denton campus, and say, hey, these are the opportunities that you have to use the transportation. Have links. You could like send out the Lyft code in that as well, and notify, make sure that it's clear that it's only for on campus stuff, and like just stuff like that, so you can get your word out more, and so people know more about it. That's just a suggestion.
Yes, thank you.
All righty, I'm just informing everyone that we do have 5 minutes left. So we have any more questions, this is the time. Go ahead, y'all.
Hi, kind of a random one. How much debt is left on the Highland garage?
Too much. If we pay it as the payments are scheduled, it'll be paid off in 18 years, 2040.
Oh, wow, okay. So that's a long time. Do you think, like, is there enough traffic in that garage to, like, I mean, like, y'all don't get a lot of, unless you're,
Well,
right?
well, is your question, can we afford the debt payments? I mean,
Not necessarily. I mean, I'll leave that to
Okay.
y'all. Y'all can handle that. But more so, like, I know y'all sell Highland passes, and they're like insanely expensive compared to the Eagles passes, like 800 or something, correct, or 700, compared to the Eagle pass being like 300. How many Highland passes have been sold this year? They do sell?
Yeah, we've sold out of our permit allocation for the garage, and there's a wait list. We do allow a certain number of spaces for visitor traffic, because we have visitors, parents and prospective students that come to the Welcome Center, primarily use the Highland Street garage for parking. So we have resident parking allocation. We have commuter students and faculty that are able to purchase permits for the garage as well, and then the visitor allocation. So the garage is relatively, it's full for the permit allocation, certainly. And then on any given day, you'll see folks parked up on the roof, the top level, just from a capacity standpoint. But we want to see that. We want to see the garage utilized, certainly.
That's a point too. And the utilization. And the year before COVID was really the first year that I ever saw it was filled, the capacity, in such that we couldn't let visitors in, only let cardholders in. And prior to that time, it was never reached that capacity. Then we had COVID, we had that dip, but we're seeing historically that it's getting utilized, and that's a great thing, but it comes with some challenges. But it is in a way it hasn't been. It opened in 2011, and in the last, I don't know, 3 years, it's really kind of taken off. So is that a function of enrollment? Because one of the things the university is very big on is increasing enrollment, and that's a good thing. It's back to that value for all of us. And but it's a good thing, but it comes with some challenge.
Thanks for the insight.
Yeah, we'll take one last question. JT, go ahead.
Yeah, and that's what I'm glad you hit on enrollment, because that was going to be my question. So I know we talk about the student experience, and of course you want it to be well, and you want to have all these nice buildings and call it, fancy, and we have this and that, right? But think about when the student experience comes here and they realize that parking is an issue, and it becomes an issue and differential between picking here and another institution that parking might not be that bad of a problem. I know parking is small, but when you think about it on a larger scale and you have to park, have to be here to go to classes, that might be something that comes up. So I think with admin, and I don't know if y'all have a strategic plan about that, we see that UNT are letting in more students. Our acceptance rate is going through the roof because we've allowed that. That's something that administration has downed every year, which is kind of sad in long-term retrospect, right? So if we're doing that, then what is that going to look like for parking? What is y'all's plan when that enrollment, especially next year? It's going to be a scary thing to see what that enrollment looks like on top of people who have to live on here and our commuter students, who I think commuter students make up about 76%. Do I have that? 76% of our student body is commuter students. So what do you say to that?
That's a very good point, and certainly a concern. We are keenly aware of our role in park and transportation in the university's efforts to recruit and retain students. It's not probably a bigger role as academics would be. However, it's still a role. People want to be able to come here and know that they can find a parking space, that we do have amenities like bus services, things like that. There is going to be very soon, the UNT is going to do a university-wide master plan. That effort will start at some point this year, as I understand it, and parking and transportation will be a big piece of that master plan. And the strategic impacts of future growth as it pertains to the campus's ability to handle that capacity, including parking and transportation, will be an integral part of that study. And then from there, we'll do our best to anticipate what the demand for parking will be and what efforts, and how we can mitigate that demand. So that is something that is definitely being looked at.
Let me add to that, and I think I've had an opportunity to sit on some committees with the president. Part of the visioning, what does 2050 look like? And actually, just more on the divisional level, the analysis, there is analysis going on. Why does a student choose UNT and not choose UNT? And one of the things that comes up is the natural one. It's parking. It's one of these. The data says something a little different. And that's not, again, not an excuse. It's when they are looking at these things to say, hey, Let's drill down into why does someone choose here and somewhere else. Yeah, there is a marketplace, and you're exactly right. People are making choices. The information, and the university is very in tune with that. And why are you or are you not? And it's fascinating, because I'm not a data guy. It's fascinating when they go through this, because my head just spins and how they analyze this stuff and look at it. But that's not to say the results are right or that the question about parking is wrong. It's about encompassing what they look at, and it's just really fascinating. But the comfort I want to leave you with is that they are looking at that. And at those levels, you'd be surprised parking comes up. And then they go through the data and say, well, here's what this data is showing us, and we have conversations. So I think that's healthy. That's not meant to, any kind of excuse, but it is a conversation. And so I think I want you to take comfort in knowing that they're looking at it. The administration is involved. It may not appear that way, but they are, and that's good.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you to our panelists for taking an hour of their day. Of course, if y'all have any questions, definitely reach out to UNT Transportation or SGA. You can email us at sga@unt.edu or follow us in any of our socials at UNTSGA. Well, that's a wrap for today. Again, thank you so much for joining us, and have a great day.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.